Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I can't believe it's another Monday morning. Sure, I was so confused this morning. I'm sitting here and I'm seeing the date on the somewhere something came up and it's saying something about a Monday, and I'm thinking to myself, Monday? Isn't this supposed to be Sunday? It just shows you when you're stuck in a room and you're busy the whole time, you really don't keep track, and it's so easy, to sort of lose, I think, where we are in the week. So I need to be more careful. I need to get out of the house a little bit more. Yesterday, I was sitting here doing a lot of recording. So I made about 4 recordings yesterday, 4 programs that I had to record. So they are all done. There's one left to do. And then I'm done with what I needed to do. And then obviously it's the preparation for Wednesday's online refresher to make sure that I'm on top form for you when you join me on Wednesday from 9 until 1. So looking forward to that. Thank you very much for being back. Good morning, Chart and Bronwyn over on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for being here. I see over on YouTube, I've got Stephen Nell. Good morning, Stephen. I saw yesterday you commented just after I ended the stream, so I couldn't show that on the screen, but thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And then Arun back again. Thank you very much for being here. He says, let's hope we have a better week ahead of us with some positive news. Yes, we need that. And Mr. Ian McMaster, welcome, sir. So nice to have you here. Really enjoy every single one of you joining me for some coffee. And on that note, I hope that you have some great coffee and some fresh coffee. Even if it comes from a tin, that coffee is better than no coffee at all, I guess. So, over on LinkedIn, I've got a Slanganani. Good morning. Good morning, Malcolm. Welcome. Amanda, welcome back. She said last time that it doesn't matter whether I say Amanda or Amanda, you know what, she's cool with all of it. So welcome. I hope to meet you one day. I see you're up here in Joburg, so it'll be great if when we can get out the house again to sort of meet up. Môre Nick, Mr. Meneer Nick Dekker, daar al die pad van Pretoria. Nice om jou hier te hê, baie dankie. Then over on YouTube again, Jaco, welcome back. Jaco, welkom, ou maat hier af in die straat. And then I've got Elmien Lottering also back. Elmien, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I really appreciate all of your time and, choosing to spend it with me this early in the morning. So I hope that you have a fantastic week. I hope it's going well with you and your family, and that, everything's not getting to you and that it's not tough, because a lot of people are saying it's going to be so tough because you're in the same space as your family all the time. And maybe you used to be out the house most of the day, and we only need to deal with one another maybe in the evening and also just for short bits of time. So I hope it's not being hard for you. I don't know, for me, it's a fantastic opportunity. I've been really enjoying it. It feels like, my wife and I have connected even more. So that's really awesome. And, if you can spend the time right, and even though I think I'm working harder than ever, focusing more on what I want to do more than ever, because I think that is what is required, it does feel like I've got more time for other things as well, So, it's fantastic. I don't know how you feel and how you are experiencing everything, but I hope it's going well with you and your family. So let's see. Neil Phillips, welcome back. Now it's a rainy Cape Town today. The sun is shining. Yeah, so it seems like, it's your turn, sir. It's your turn. I want to say definitely we will meet and have awesome coffee from a tin. Whatever, as long as there's coffee involved, I'm quite happy. Yes, good morning, Neil Strydom. Also, all the regulars in the house today. So thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to what I've got to share with you. If you are over on YouTube, please consider subscribing. And even if you're not on YouTube, if you prefer to watch on LinkedIn, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. There's a lot of content that's going to come that may only be available on YouTube, simply because I can structure it and I can categorize it and I can sort everything so that it's easy to find. Whereas on LinkedIn, it's a little bit more difficult. We don't have that option yet in the profiles to really put things together. If you do want to watch some of the previous episodes, you can do so by going to my profile. Right at the top, when you scroll down, you'll see in the featured section, I just link all the videos to there. So it'll be right at the top, and they're there in order that the episodes has taken place. If you can't see all of them, there's usually a see all link that you can click on in order to get access to that. But if you do want to go watch some of those, but they're also all available over on YouTube. And remember to say hi. I see most people have said hi who's here. So thank you very much. If you haven't said hi, particularly on YouTube. I can pull it up on the screen, and if you've got comments or questions as we go through, please, I want to encourage you again to interact with one another. If somebody's got a question and you've got some insights or an answer, or you share the same question, then let that know. Let there be a conversation in the community. That is what this is really about. I want everybody to connect, and that we know we're all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, trying to get through everything as unscathed as possible. So yeah, I'm pretty amazed at my voice this morning because I've got my throat. I almost said the Free State one, my throat. My throat is quite sore after all the talking that I did yesterday, because when you need to record videos, you need to be extra energetic. And, like they say, the camera adds a couple of pounds. You also need more energy on the camera because it feels sometimes like the camera is taking away some of the energy. So yeah, I can feel it this morning. And so we'll see. Good morning, champ. More Francis. My favorite. Hello, Marilisi. Welcome. It's the first time I'm seeing you here. More. Thank you for saying hi. I appreciate it, and for being here. Nice to have you here. And then lastly, before I get going, good morning, Quibus. Quibus Klein back. Time to get the mindset right around a 35-day lockdown and not count the days down to 21. I agree. So whether it's 21 days or 35 or 65, whatever the number of days are going to be, I think we should stop counting down the days. Maybe we should look at it as a level. Today we are level, what is it? Level 12. It's not day 12. This is level 12. We're just getting better and better and better at this. We're finding our groove. We're finding our rhythm. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's a big reason why because in this live stream, we did call the virtual coffee with Francois day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And then it started feeling to me like we're counting down to or counting up to something. And I didn't really like that because I think there's more of a negative connotation to that than there is really something positive. So I started calling them episodes. But I've been thinking about it over the weekend as well. So I think now that Kobus is raising it, maybe we should call it level 12. Because then every time you go a level up and we get better and better and more determined. And you've got everything it takes to make it through this the more we go on. So maybe that's a good idea. I don't know what you think about that. Good morning, Stuart. Stuart from AdviceWorks. Welcome here, Stuart. He says, morning, Francois, interested in your segmentation views, key for practice management. Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to today's session. And I know it says everything you need to know, but obviously it's physically impossible to teach you or share with you everything about segmentation. So I want to focus on some of the more specific things around that I feel is going to have the biggest impact when you look at segmentation. And we're also going to answer the question whether you should be looking at segmentation at all in your business, because it's not to say that you have to, although some people feel that it is an absolute must, but it does depend on a number of things. So, Martina, goeiemôre. Welcome. Then on here, Cindy Neetling back. Hello, Cindy. Frans Hutton, good morning, everybody. Tian Herselman. Hello, Tian. I've only ever seen you on LinkedIn. Nice to have you here. We've never interacted, so welcome. Great to have you here. And yeah, so Nick says talk about chapters, not days. Yeah. So good stuff. Alrighty, so let's get into this whole story. So let me make sure that I switch off the right things here so that I don't distract you as we're going through everything that I want to discuss. Alrighty, cool beans. So just as a reminder, we're live every day from 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. every single day, including weekends. I get some messages, and I really, really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, of people saying that I need to take it slow. I need to relax a bit. This is fun, guys. I really, for me, this is the relaxation. I really, really enjoy doing these sessions. So it doesn't feel to me like I'm burning myself at both ends. But yeah, it is. I'll keep doing this for as long as I can. And yeah, so let's get into today. Let me just see quickly. Shahida, welcome. Again, a lot of Cape Town people in the house. I like it because you can't go anywhere, number one. And number two, it's raining. So yeah, there's no better place to spend than right here with us having some nice coffee. All right, so ready to get going. So, I mean, if we start this conversation, again, this is like a lot of things I think that we've discussed before, is that, you look at it and you ask the question, but what is segmentation? And if I ask that question, chances are very well that it's going to mean different things to different people. Some people may see it as a very academic or theoretical exercise, and it is something that the business books tells us to do, and the marketing books and the customer relationship management books and all of those good things. They tell us that, you know what, you need to segment your client base. Now, I have seen segmentation fail dismally. I have seen segmentation succeed fantastically. So it all depends, you can do the exercise as much as you want, but it comes down to the implementation. And I think it also comes down to how simple you can keep it, not to make it too complex and just to it's unnecessary. You don't want to have it, like there's a lot of detail and a lot of small things and a lot of moving parts. Again, it's like an iPhone or any other phone that you've got. It's a very complex thing. You and I won't necessarily understand how this thing works, but we know how to use it. And it's very simple to use. These things don't even come with a manual anymore, So I remember back in the day, the old Nokia communicator 9110, was it? That phone that opened, it was a little like flip thing, but it had a whole keyboard and everything. It was like a very small laptop. But that thing had a book, that you had to work through in order to be able to use that phone. Today, you take this phone out the box and, all you need is a finger, and it needs to be charged, and it needs to be a SIM card, and there you go. So, what is segmentation? So let me get to that. It's really about, I think, identifying specific people and then grouping them together, in the simplest form. And it's not like, okay, so this isn't like when you were at school or you went to, I don't know, what is a buitenlig school? I don't know what that's called in English. And then you need to choose teams, and you go, I'll choose you, and I'll choose you, and I'll choose you. So that's not what we want to do. This is really to go and look at, if you look at a client base, whether it's your existing clients or whether it is like your prospective clients or ideal clients that you would like to work with, because it's totally possible if you've built a client base to decide, these are not actually the kind of clients I want to work with. I rather want to work with these types of clients. And then you can go and define those clients, and you can go determine what are their needs and their wants, and you can group them together where things are, because there are only so many needs and wants, right? So we always say that a financial plan is unique and it's specific to a person, and that's true to some degree, because there are always little nuances and things that's going on and things that you need to consider. But in general, a lot of people are sitting with the same issue. We need to pay our debt. We need to have enough money. We need to pay for our kids' school fees. We need to fund our lifestyle. It's just that I think during different times of your life, you have different priorities. And that just, wherever you can, if you want to know where your priorities are, see where your money flows. What are you spending your money on? Those are your priorities. It's as simple as that, because it's easy to say no to certain things, and it's then very easy to say yes to other things. And those things that you say yes to easily, those are your priorities. And it's the same with these clients. If we can understand what their priorities are, what their needs and their wants are, and we can say, oh, Pete and Jan and San and Ina and Sunette, they all have the same sort of, they're in the same ballpark. They all want to play rugby. Then we can put them into that team for rugby or for netball or for tennis, or whatever it is that they need and they want to learn and that they want to do. And again, I've already alluded to this in the beginning, is that this isn't only for your existing clients. This isn't only just for new clients. This isn't a theoretical thing. You can decide to segment your existing client base, which is obviously where I will say you need to start, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But you look at your existing client base, because that will inform a lot of your thinking. And I'll get to the reason why I think it's important to consider segmentation at least. But you can also now decide that, listen, I've got another, so I have a lot of people coming to, let's say, for instance, my business assurance course. And you would ask, or they would come to a workshop on business assurance, and you would ask them, so who in the room does business assurance? And there's 3 or 4 that puts up their hand, but it's a room full of people. And then the rest are obviously there because they would like to. But the problem is that they don't know how to get into that market. So obviously it can be a knowledge thing, a confidence thing, a connections thing. There are a whole host of reasons of why they don't know how to get in there. But a big part of that would then be to say, okay, so if I want to work with business owners, and we spoke about this yesterday, whether you should niche down or not, you can now go and say, oh, what kind of business owner? And you can really go very, very specific. And then the whole job is to get to know them as well as that you possibly can, so that you know everything about them and everything about the kind of business that they're doing. because then you've segmented, then you've got a focus, then you've got something that you can say, okay, now this is going to inform my marketing, this is going to inform my prospecting going forward. I'm no longer going to focus on anything that's got just, as long as they've got oxygen in their lungs. I'm now going to go specific, I'm going to focus, I'm going to show that I understand them. And in that way, I want to attract them. And that's where segmentation is very, very powerful in that sense, because it gives us that opportunity to get to know someone really, really, really well. All right, so that is sort of the first question. The second thing that I then want to say, that I want to discuss is, why should a business, at least consider segmentation? I don't say that you have to do segmentation, but you have to, at some point, go through the process of segmenting your client base, or consider whether you should be. And the whole thing and that's not even part of the talk today, but the whole thing about segmentation is that there needs to be an underlying philosophy in terms of your segmentation. So segmentation is not, so let me go through the list, and then that's an A client, this is a B client, and this is a D client. No, that's not how you do it. You need to have a certain philosophy, about, in other words, so I don't want to use the word definition, because again, it sounds very theoretical and very academic, but you need to have a philosophy about, who do you regard as your A client, or your platinum client, or your lions, or your elephants, or whatever you want to call them, whatever, your Captain Marvels, or your Iron Mans, or whatever you want to call them, what is that for you? And when is a client each of those? So I say you need at least, let's say, 3 of those categories. And then you can say, well, what is my philosophy for each one of these? Because that will make it much easier to sort of put people into different categories. But why should you consider segmentation? At least consider it. You don't have to do it, but consider it. It's simply because if you do segment, you can reach a consumer that's got specific needs and it's got specific ones, and you can be very precise about, how you reach them, where you reach them. That I say when. So those kind of things that makes a difference. It helps you to focus, because now you're focused on, this is the kind of client I want. If you really think about it, I know we've all got all these clients, and everybody's got a tail in their business, which is always the interesting part. It doesn't matter which business you're in. There's always a tail of customers, but there's that top end. And you always think to yourself, if I can only have clients like that, I'm going to have a fantastic business. My life is going to be great. But why does it happen that we have these tails, and it's just, I think it's going to happen. Doesn't matter what we do. There will always be that. Even in your top, if you just look at those top 20 or top 50 clients, even there's a little tail, actually, if you really get very micro and you really get into the detail on that. But anyway, so this helps you to focus. I can say, well, if I want more of my, call them A clients, then everything needs to be geared towards that. My communication, my marketing, my social media activity, the people that I ask referrals from, or the people that I educate and train how to send me referrals, that kind of thing, my website, everything needs to be geared towards that client and that client only. And again, if you think about niching, even within a niche, you can have these different categories. So you've got to be specific in terms of a niche, and then you've got to be specific around, which part of that niche are you really aiming everything at. Because it's funny, it will, as I said yesterday, it will repel a lot of the people that you don't want from that point. The other powerful thing, if you segment well and you understand how everything plays together and works together, is that you can allocate your resources appropriately. You know how many people you need in your team. You know which, like, your best people, who's working with the clients, or you put your best people onto your favorite clients. And then the ones that maybe is most profitable. I'm going to go through some things that we need to consider when you do want to segment. But the whole thing here is that, if you segmented and you identified that group of people and you get to know them really, really well, you get to know them intimately, then you can have a much better value proposition, because you really understand, you are one of them. You become one of them because you know and understand them so well. And all of this obviously takes time. That's what I'm saying. You're not going to, if you want to do segmentation right, this isn't about grouping people into groups and saying, oh, this is what I'm going to do for each one of you. No, you really need to understand. And I would take one segment at a time and really get to know them well and understand and have a proposition specifically for them. And once you're comfortable with that, you can look at the other ones. Maybe if there's another 2 or so, then you can do that from that point. All right, let me hop on over. Salome, good morning. Goeiemorgen. Tammy, nice to have you here again. Morning. Tian says, good to see you as well, Kobus. This is a great initiative, Francois. Thanks. I appreciate it, Tian. And then Chad says, just don't neglect your family. Every minute not spent with them are lost forever. Yeah, it's about balance, and also, I guess a lot of people can get into like, what are our reasons for doing what we're doing, and why are we working hard, and why are we pushing even harder during this time? I think if you're going to sit back and just spend time with the family, that's great. But you come to the other end, So it's like anything in life, balance. How do we keep it? Don't go this way, don't go that way. And it's okay. You don't always have to be perfectly like this. Sometimes you'll go like this, and then we need to go back like this so that it evens out over time. So we shouldn't be that hard on ourselves as well. All righty, so let's move on. The next question then is, what is the interplay between segmentation and your value proposition? And we did speak like very quickly about value propositions in another episode. And somebody asked me, are you going to get more into value propositions? And I definitely am. I'm going to end off today with some tools that I usually use in my business and that I've used with other people that you can look at. And maybe we can get into a future episode into that specifically. I know one of the corporates are also using this. They rolled it out last year, October, I saw. But I've been using it for quite some time, and it works wonders to be able to focus on a specific segment and to understand them and to put a proposition together and then a business model, so that you can make money from that, because that's why we're in business, right? So I think the biggest benefit that you get from segmenting, getting to know your clients really well, understanding the customer journey, because that sounds like a corporate word. But I attended a workshop last year that was presented by Joseph Michelli, and he's the guy that wrote about Starbucks, and he's got books about, that flying fish market where they throw the fish to one another, etc. He's the guy that helped all of them with their customer experience, Mercedes-Benz, Airbnb. So there's a lot of these big well-known companies that he's been involved in. And he was here at the beginning of December last year, and I was fortunate to attend the workshop. And one of the things that we did there, and that was a room full of entrepreneurs, is to look at the customer journey. And do you really understand exactly what's happening? Do you know how clients find you? Do you know what they do, how they research you? So it's really breaking it down into the details, and that's getting to know them, how they think, how they act, and often you won't know that unless you ask maybe your existing clients about, what is the process? What do they do when they do this? So you have to do some form of a bit of a survey or research in order to get this kind of information. Or the flip side is you can go and create a customer journey that you would like somebody to go through. And then you got to make sure that the business actually delivers on that customer journey and that it makes it easy for the client to make that decision whether they want to work with you. But the bottom line here is that you can really custom and tailor your value proposition to each of those segments. And a segment can be, as I think it was yesterday that we spoke about, like Tallysure. It just came up in a conversation, but Tallysure has got all these businesses. So it's auto and general and budget, first for women, and I don't know what else. They've got a whole list of insurance companies. And what they do there is that all they've done is they've identified a specific target market, verseker, the Afrikaans versekeraar. It's nothing more than auto and general. But all they've done is we do everything in Afrikaans, because they want to target the Afrikaans market. And that is clever. Okay, but what they did is they put a value proposition together for that specific segment. They even went so far as to create a separate company with a separate product for each specific segment. So that is taking it to the extreme, and that's not feasible for most of us. But the thinking behind it, I think, is solid to say, well, if I've got a specific target market, my marketing speaks to that person, my product speaks, my service, my proposition, everything speaks to that kind of client. And what we shouldn't be, and this is where we make the big mistake. When we go out there, we say, oh, I do all of these things for all of these people because I need clients. But what we should be doing is speaking to a specific client whenever we're speaking, because when you speak to everyone, you're speaking to no one. And that's very important, that you are saying listen, Kobus, I'm speaking to you, and Kobus must hear me, and he must listen, and he wants to talk back to me. That is what we want to do. Or Chart, I'm talking to you, and you know that I'm talking to you. So nobody else is listening, but Chart is listening because I'm speaking to Chart. I called out his name and all of that. So that's very important when it comes to our marketing. So segmentation informs a whole lot of things, not only our value propositions, but as I said earlier, our marketing, our communication, everything we do can be geared to a specific segment of the business, and particularly those ones that we really, really want to do business with. Excuse me. It also allows us to sort of look at this whole profit versus effort kind of thing, and this is something that I learned last year as I was explaining something to someone. In the moment, I had this light button, and I'm like, because we do a lot of stuff as well, and it's hard work. So all of these things I'm sharing with you are things that I'm working on in my business, and that it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do, and to really get to what it is that you do. And you get anxious when you only speak about one thing at a time, and so I know what that's like. But anyway, so last year I was explaining something to someone, and what happened during the conversation is I had this light bulb moment. What happened was I was explaining, like, if you take your service and what we charge for it, and if we want to sort of get to this turnover or this level of income, we need to do so many of them. So that's the first thing. And then you say, well, is that feasible? Is it practical? Is it doable? All right. And yes, it's doable. But then there was another service, okay, that we do. And that service, to get to the same level of income, I had to do 1/10 of the activities that I did over here. Now, the responsibility and the risk is a lot more on this side of what we're doing there, but I only need 8 of them. And on this side, I need 100. Okay, so that's 1/10. It's even less than 1/10 if you want to be mathematically correct. But that's what it is. And that for me was like, so if I put in the same amount of hours, the same effort and everything, they are not equal. Because here I'm going to work much harder, much longer to get to the same output, because it's all about the output. And that is what segmentation allows you to do. Because now you can not only segment your client, you can segment your value proposition, or you can hone and tailor your value proposition. You can then, obviously, part of that would be your products and your services. And suddenly you know what to focus on and what to really get out to the market. And if you know those people very well, because it's like a persona, so you know that kind of person, you can say, well, this kind of person, da-da-da-da-da. So that's important. Then also important that if we've got segmentation, if you've done segmentation correctly, and this is the other thing, don't let it hold you back, because it's got to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect, because people change all the time, and your focus change, and circumstances change, markets change. So don't try and get it 100% correct, because that's never going to happen. But what we are able to do is really manage expectations, and we can make sure that when we deliver, we over-deliver on those expectations. Or in other words, another word for expectations is promises. So whatever promise you make, we always say under-promise, over-deliver. So make sure that for that specific client, you are able to manage their expectation and set the expectation from the beginning. So you first set the expectation, and then they agree to that, so you're on the same page. You should then manage that expectation. You got to ensure that you over-deliver on that expectation, and that becomes a lot easier when you've got your client base segmented in that fashion. And then the last thing, obviously, if we do all of this is really speaking to one thing, and I've already spoken about this in another episode as well, is customer experience. So you can really take your customer experience to the next level, because if there's clarity, you understand the people you're working with, you deliver on their expectations, because there's nothing that hurts your perception of the level of service than, expectations that are not aligned. You can do the same thing for 2 people. The one thinks you walk on water, the other one thinks you are the worst service they've ever experienced, and we don't understand why that is. But it's simply because of differing expectations. And we didn't take the time to understand what the expectation is. We never set the expectation, because when you set the expectation, it gives them an opportunity to come back to you and say, no, that's not what I want, or that's not what I need. I actually need this. So then you can adjust your expectation as well. This is what's going to happen, and you better stick to it. This is all, and you don't have a choice. It's not about that at all. So your customer experience is something that you can really, really ramp up, and that's what you want. So the better the customer experience, the more you competitive proof yourself, the better the outcome at the end of the day for your business and for your client. And that's what client experience does. So that's very, very cool. All right. Let me see quickly. Kevin, welcome, Kevin. Nice to have you here. When you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. Yes, exactly. That is exactly sort of what came out of my mouth. All right. So I want to move on and talk a little bit about an entrepreneur mindset. And so I've actually prepared a bit of a slideshow for this part because I think it's important for you to see some of the things that I want to talk about so that we are all on the same page. And it just makes it a little bit more visual. It's a little bit of a change from just a normal watching me talk, right? So, so if you think about an entrepreneur mindset, if you want to, I think it's imperative for us to adopt that entrepreneurial mindset. If you really want to be successful and you want to be sustainable, then you've got to have that. And I do think that there's a difference between being an entrepreneur and having an entrepreneurial mindset. It's not necessarily the same thing. The one means that you can be employed, you can be an advisor for a product house, for example, and that means that you're actually employed, but you can still think like somebody who owns their own practice. And I am a big advocate of that. That is exactly what you should be doing. Focus on running your practice like it is absolutely your own business. And luckily, most people do view it that way. But there are a few who still, everything goes to the manager. They don't take responsibility. This company, they should give me training. They are responsible. So that's what we do. No, you should take responsibility for everything that happens in your practice. If you don't get the training somewhere else, go find it somewhere else. Okay. But that's part of the entrepreneurial mindset where if you really want to be successful, then we need to do that. And if you want to grow, if you've been doing what you're doing for quite a long time and things are just staying the same, okay, so you grow but very slowly, or you just maintain, or you even maybe going down a little bit. If you really want to restart that growth curve, and I don't think that we ever get to that point, most people won't get to that point where this is now like this, because we always need purpose, we always have ambition, we always want to achieve more, we always want to push ourselves and see what we are capable of. So it's got nothing to do with how much money I can make. It is how good can I get? That's what it's about. How much value can I add? How big is the difference I can make? How big is the impact that I can have on my clients? That's what it's about. And then if you earn more money because of that, fantastic. But, if you want to grow, then things must change. You can't be doing the same things. Oh, that old story about doing things over and over. And it's hard to change. It's not hard. It needs real commitment. And that's why a lot of people have been saying during this time, it's a great time to change a habit because it happens to be 21 days. And that's one of the sessions I recorded yesterday. Again, so I've got the session where I talk about 7 powerful habits to build a legendary financial services practice. And, I recorded that for the FBI now as well. And, it reminded me again of a few things doing that and what we can do in order to move forward. If I look at a definition, of what an entrepreneur is, it is that an entrepreneur starts a business and the aim is to make a profit. And I actually talked about this yesterday as well. Nobody starts a business to do it for free. If you did, then you should have started a charity. Whenever you're in business, we should not be ashamed or feel bad that we're in it to make profit, because that is the aim of any business. So any entrepreneur is out there to try and generate a profit from what they do. But in the process, they have a big impact on people, and they deliver services, and they really help build the country, the community. They make a real difference in that they do it, but they get compensated well for doing that and for the risk that you are taking. I always laugh at the banks. They will, if somebody works for you, they are very easy to give them any kind of loan based on the pay slip that they get, no problem. But if the business owner wants to get anything, it's like you've got to jump through 6 million hoops that's on fire and laced with acid and all sorts of funny things. I don't know how these things work, but the entrepreneur is the one taking all the risk, and that's why they should be adequately compensated for that. I don't know if you've read the book E-Myth. So there's a whole series of them. I was introduced to the book for the first time by Wessel Oosthuizen. So Wessel told me about the E-Myth attorney, and he said that, but there's a lot of similarity between how you run an attorney practice and how we should run, or how we could run, a financial services practice. So that was the first E-Myth book that I read. Then the second one was just E-Myth, it's called E-Myth, I think, Revisited or something like that. So it's aimed at small businesses. And, Michael E. Gerber is the person that wrote the book. So he's very well known for this. And in there, he's talking about 3 kinds of people, and he talks about the technician or the doer. That's the person that does what needs to be done. So you're a technician, or a specialist is also another word for that. Then you have the manager. So that's the person that sort of orchestrates the whole thing. So they would plan, and they would make sure that things run the way that it needs to run, and that we stick to the plan, and that if the plan needs to be adjusted, they look at, but all they do is they don't do the actual work. They just manage all the technicians, basically, if you will, to do that job. The entrepreneur, on the other hand, what that person does, whether it's a he or she, they turn conditions into opportunities. And this is important, through vision. And that's how you can say, well, am I an entrepreneur or not? So am I turning conditions like this condition? This is a condition that we're finding ourselves in. Am I looking for the opportunities? And I also spoke about this previously, about your reticular activation system. Whatever you focus on, that's what you're going to see and what you're going to find. If you aren't looking for Easter eggs, you're not going to find Easter eggs, believe it or not. So yeah, that must remind me, I must tell my wife to put some Easter eggs in the garden. Anyway, so, a lot of us think that we are entrepreneurs. And again, it's like anything. I think yesterday as well, somebody asked me afterwards, how do you know if it's this or that? It's all about the behavior. It's how people act. So you can easily go look in the mirror and say to yourself, am I a technician? So am I doing the actual job? Or am I managing the business? Or am I looking for opportunities in whatever the condition is that I find myself in? And do I have a vision of, where I want to go? Do I have a vision of how I can take that opportunity and make it something really, really important, and something that's of real significance? So yeah, most of us think that we're entrepreneurs, but in fact, we are technicians, and we need to realize that. And that's the thing about spending time on your business versus in your business. The technician spends time in the business. Now, I'm not going to go through the exact, I've got a whole series of slides going through what are the differences between the two. So I took that out today. But I just quickly want to run you through and what an entrepreneur, the process that an entrepreneur typically goes through. And there is a limit here in terms of if you're a financial planner and you're a one-man practice or something like that, then, so typically you look at this from a franchise principles point of view, or somebody that owns a bigger brokerage where you don't really give advice anymore. You're more there to run the business. You'll fit more into this entrepreneur role. But there can also be a blend between an entrepreneur and a technician if you are still seeing clients and still giving advice. But the thing with an entrepreneur, first of all, is that, and this is according to Michael E. Gerber, is that they would identify an opportunity. They would then go back to the drawing board to go and understand and analyze that opportunity and make sure that they understand what it is about. Then they get a clear, and yeah, you see segmentation, get a clear picture of clients and their needs. And often also their wants, because there is a big difference, and people tend to rather focus on their wants than their needs. So we know what they need, but that's not particularly what they always want. And so this is important that you get to that. They've got a clear picture of who this person is and what their problems are and what they're trying to solve. So all of that. All right. Then what they do is, once they understand exactly, then they craft a solution. So then they come up with, how do we solve this? What are we going to do? We create a product and whatever. And then ultimately what they do is they build a process to deliver this consistently. And this is sometimes where we fall short. We maybe do all of the first 4 things, but we don't look at building a process that can deliver things over and over again. A process causes you to be predictable. You know what the outcome is going to be. It helps your service delivery, the client, everything that you want to be great. You can do that through a process in order to do that. So the true entrepreneur will then go, okay, so now we've done that. I've got a system and a team that delivers on this consistently. And now they're on to the next opportunity. And this whole cycle repeats itself again and again and again for entrepreneurs. And it can be within your business. So it's not like you're starting new businesses all the time. It's just that in your business, particularly, that can be the case. Then I just want to quickly take you through a framework before I get back to the comments. Just what a business looks like. What do we need to really have a business? Whether you only have a practice within a product provider's space, or whether you've got your own FSP license and you have your own IFA practice, etc. This is sort of the things that we need to consider, and some of them may be applicable to you and some not. But you look at it, you need a vision, and again, you go back to what he said, is that it's identifying an opportunity, and you take advantage of that through your vision. So for your business, doesn't matter where you are, you need a very clear vision of where you're going, how you want to do things, etc. And guys, there needs to be a balance here, because some of us come up with, and I've been there, you come up with this fantastic dream. You think the way that everybody's been doing it for years, that's the wrong way. Okay, this is the holy grail. This is the right way to do it. This is the best way to do it. This is going to make me stand out because this is what people really need and want. And then you start doing that, and then nothing happens. Nobody does business with you. You battle to get business because you are so fixated on this castle that you've built in the sky using clouds and whatever you have. And then it's not feasible, because whatever you come up with, you need to understand what the business model is that's going to make that happen. But you need that vision. At least you need to have a picture, and also a vision, remember, it is something that we work towards. You should actually never even reach your vision. Okay, but the vision should give you that direction to say, well, that's where we're going. This is how we want to get to. We understand that we're not there now, and we also know that you can't just click your finger and then you're on Mars. It's a journey. Okay, you need the right ship to get there, and they're still building that ship. So we need to understand that it's going to take some time before you could maybe get to that vision, but you've got to be working on it consistently, and whatever decisions you make is got to take you closer to that vision. So that is imperative. That's the foundation of your business or your practice. Then obviously there's a lot of things that happen inside of your practice. All right, and this can be very daunting. But I mean, you don't really have a business unless these things are in place. And that's why I say some of it may or may not be applicable to you. If I look at things like payroll and staff and things like that, they may not exist because maybe you're the only person working in your practice, and that's cool. But, you need to think about these things: payroll and invoicing if you're charging fees, tax that needs to be paid, accounting that needs to be done, all your planning for your business, your processes and systems in the business. When you receive invoices, they need to be paid. What about legal considerations? So contracts with your staff, contracts with service providers, contracts with the FSCA in our case. So all of those kind of things needs to be in place, and you need to understand that. I mean, you can see that some of these things may start to cost you money even before you've started doing business. But these are all things that if you're in a practice or you own an IFA practice, you need to consider these things. Then obviously you need a support system. Because you can't do it all on your own, and some of these things you may want, some of them you don't want, and some of them you can outsource, some of them you have to do internally maybe. But you look at things like, if you look at what an advisor does, there's new business and there's servicing, so that obviously is related to that. Or if you focus solely on advice and not so much on product, then you need to focus on that in the way that you do that. Para planning, communication, what technology are you going to use to make everything happen? When you want to learn something new, where are you going to do it? How are you going to research? How are you going to get appointments? Who's going to do that for you? Are you going to do it yourself? But you need that support system in order to then get to the next level. And if I go to the next level, what does that entail? Well, now I need to give advice, because that's why I'm in business, right? I'm in the business of financial advice. But to be able to do financial advice, I need a whole host of things. One is I need knowledge. I need skills, I need expertise, I need to have a process of how I'm going to gather info, but not only that, I also need to understand what info do I need. And if you have particular clients, so if you've segmented your clients, you will understand the kind of information that is really important to them. So then you want to look at that. You got to do the analysis, and then you have to have several solutions. So you may have to consider who you have contracts with, the kind of products that you're happy, your due diligence, all of that stuff that you need to do. And then obviously to review that client. How are you going to do that? Because that is all part of advice. You see, so there's so many moving parts to this already, and we're not even at the top yet. So then the next part here is then I need to know who my ideal client is. And you see, this is now where we start looking at segmentation and defining and knowing clients so that we know how we want to offer things to them. And we need that ideal client profile because we want to obviously aim our marketing at that, our prospecting, our referrals, relationships, engagement, everything must be tailored for that client. That client is one client that you're speaking to at a point in time. So if you in the scuba diving community, for example, and you want to work with scuba divers because you've got lots in common and you love doing that, then you need to understand whenever you are communicating, you should only be speaking to that scuba diver. If you also happen to help truck drivers, you don't speak to them in the same sense. I think your chances of getting a truck driver who's also a scuba diver is very, very low. Okay, it's not to say that that's not the case, but often that will be a problem. So very simple example. So you need that ideal client profile then to be able to do that, because I want to know who am I going to give advice to. So important. I always share a lot of important information in these sessions. So then it's all about creating a client experience and obviously delivering the value to the client. And that's where your branding comes in and your value proposition. So you can see that I need to know who my ideal client is before I can create a value proposition. I need to know who my ideal client is before I can work on my branding so that I can position myself correctly so that I speak directly to that client. And there's the entire picture, So it's quite interesting, I think, to consider all of that. All right. So let's move on one more. I want to talk about the client in a second. We're going to talk about defining your ideal client. Let me just see quickly. Boom, 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 boom. Johan, this ties in with the find your niche discussion. It does, Johan, very much so. And actually, yesterday in the episode, I said that because it linked and I would talk about this today. So that's where it came from. Good morning, Renata. Welcome. Kobus says, hi, Francois. I agree with so much of your talk. To me, it's a subject matter I've been grappling with over the years. As we chatted yesterday, the interlink between niche and segmentation is interesting. I, for one, decided to focus more on a niche rather than segmentation and holistic planning. As I see all clients with the opportunity over the years, I treat all clients similar, as my smallest young client can have a considerable center of influence, or his father going on pension on 12 months or in 12 months with a significant fund credit. At the same client, your D client can become your A client through an inheritance, startup company, etc. I also feel that segmentation can become an admin nightmare and can lead to opportunities missed. Kobus, and I think a lot of people share that view. Another good friend of mine definitely shares that as well, because he's also been sort of, battling with this and getting his client base segmented. It's something he's spending time on at the moment. And he said, well, ultimately to me, it comes down to these two things. So that's all I'm going to worry about. And that's fine, because that's why I say keep it simple, but have a philosophy. So whatever that philosophy is, and it's very clear here that you've got a philosophy. Shlokanani says, in a one-man business like us, how do you move between doer, manager, and entrepreneur? It is by taking control of your diary and allocating time and sticking to what you decide on. It doesn't mean that you have to work on your business every day, but if you look at a month, you got to take at least 1 or 2 days where you don't see clients, you don't do all the other stuff. You just let clients know. And this is often where we make the mistake that you get that call of a client that wants to see you, and you look at your diary and you see, okay, I actually said I'm going to work on my business plan, but so let me rather put this client in because it's business. And that's where we make the mistake. I always ask, what if you had an appointment with another client? What would you have told them? Oh, sorry, I can't see you now. I can only see you in 3 days' time. So do that. Stick to that. Don't be just always accommodating. And there's a whole host of reasons why I'm saying that. But I would say that that's the thing. Just allocate a day, or at least I think 2 days in a month, where you just work on your business, because you need to do that. And I understand, because I sit in the same situation as you. There's no real difference. Bronwyn, great session. Thanks. I have to leave early today. We'll watch the rest on your recorded session. Thank you, Bronwyn. Yes, it's available afterwards. Johan Marais. Hello, Johan. Nice to see you back. Kobus, I agree with you. For me, I also treat all my clients as if they are all top clients. The young person starting his journey at 25 might not fit into your business at that stage, but with your help and advice, as well as opportunities that will cross his path, it might make him one of your top clients. Exactly. And there's sort of one theme that's getting out here that I'll touch on. You could not say it better. If you want to grow them, then stop being the tractor driver on your own farm. Get the right people in your business to support you. And that in itself is a journey. I mean, it's not just, oh, let me go and appoint a lot of people. Johan Vosloo from ComSpace, he says, is what you're describing not more about defining your niche? It's all part of it. I think these things are interlinked, Johan. I don't think segmentation is a separate exercise. It informs everything. So even when you're deciding on an ideal client or a niche, it'll start off with a niche. You look at who is your ideal client in that niche, and then you see how can I group them. So all of these things is part of the same process. Neil Phillips, there are commonalities between different businesses. So having small business as your target market is a form of segmentation. Yes. So you can do high-level segmentation, or you can get very specific. There is no right or wrong, and you must decide, is segmentation for you? And if you really think about it, if you decide, like, at least if you look at your client base, you can say, oh, I have small business owners, I have self-employed people, and I have professionals, for example. Those are 3 segments in your business, and you 10 to 1 going to do different things for them. And that's why I say it's not necessary to go and throw the apple cart, just go and focus on what you've got already. What are you doing? And just see if there's something that you can tweak. And I'll get to the value proposition now in a second. Most have common goals, problems, and objectives. Says Neil. Johan Foster says, I'm curious about what folks think about ongoing segmentation, not to treat people differently, but about understanding the spread. Yes, Johan. So that's what I was talking about. Yes, this common theme that's now coming up in this conversation is that we need to understand as well the difference between having done segmentation and having a specific value proposition that speaks specifically to that, and then the relationships we build on the other end. I'm not saying at all that in segmentation, if you've got a D client or your meerkat clients or whatever you want to call them, that when you have them, then you don't treat them well, you're not courteous, you don't give them time, you don't give them access or that to you. But what I am saying is that what they need at that point in time, you also need to understand that, from a business point of view, you can't service them profitably. And you can view that as an investment for the long term. That's totally fine. You got to do what feels right to you and your business. All I'm saying is, if you really go and look at it, you got to understand that you need to do things differently for different people. When there are even, and not even within that segment, you will have people at different stages in their lives. So it can become very complicated. And that's why I like the things that I'm reading here that you're saying in the comments, that, you sort of are trying to keep it simple and just say, well, these are my segments and this is sort of what I do. And I try and treat everyone the same. I'm absolutely for that. Because it does happen where somebody refers someone onto you, or as Koba said, somebody inherits money. You never know. But that's why I said yesterday as well, it's all about the relationship that you build. Don't ever think that any person that comes across your path, that person's never going to be able to do anything for me, or I can't do anything for them, so I'm not even going to take the effort. Always be courteous, always be sincere. Okay, you don't have to get involved into their lives, but you've got to do that kind of stuff. So absolutely, Johan, I agree with that. Okay, so I'm going to continue, because if I keep on reading, the comments keep coming in. I really appreciate it. Thank you for engaging with one another. Let me just quickly see. Khomotso on YouTube says, so true, you want to grow, things must change. Yes, absolutely. All right, let me continue here. So defining your ideal client, I mean, there's obviously a number of ways that one could go about doing exactly that. But, let's just look at this. If you look at Tim Manning, he's talking about competing through value management. And this is something that we've been speaking about for a long time. It's all about value. And the more value you can deliver, the more you can charge for it. It's like anything, And then another thing that also plays a big role in that is scarcity, obviously. So there are different things that people do in order to up the value. But be that as it may, when you focus on value and you want new clients, okay, what the Manning is referring to is that, when you want to find new clients, it costs time and money. You know that. We always talk about it's much cheaper to do business with an existing client than it is to go and find a new client. So you can't waste your time with getting the wrong clients or less than ideal clients, really, because we've only got so much time. We've all got limited resources. We all have the same amount of time in a day. So do you rather want to spend that time working with the right people and with the right clients, or do you want to spend it just helping everybody? because we are really not able to do that unless we have huge teams and everything that goes with that. All right, so every successful business, if you look at that, they have the right clients, according to Tim Manning. If they're successful, they have the right clients who have great services experiences, okay, and see how everything's coming together that maybe we've been talking about for the last week, who pay without complaining about price, and I'm going to look at some of the aspects that you need to consider when you want to look at your ideal client, and I have spoken about it before, but I'm going to speak about it again. I'm going to add some stuff on top of that one could really take into account. And you have the right clients that tell others about your outstanding service. That's it. It's as simple as that. They're the right people. They have great experiences. They get a lot of value from what you do. They see the value that you offer. They're more than happy to pay. And guess what? They're also happy to tell their friends and family and colleagues about you and refer people onto you, because they do want their friends and family to have the same experiences as what they've got, because most people are battling out there. And then if you combine these two things, so if you are focusing on the right clients and you provide them with exceptional service, then you competitive proof. How often it happens to me often, like you will get people sending you like cheaper options than AfriHost, for example. I've been an AfriHost client for 9 years. There are people complaining about AfriHost left, right, and center. Me, I've been with them for 9 years, month-to-month contract, not locked into anything. I don't know. Whenever I've had an issue, whether it was 11:30 at night or whether it was early in the morning or whenever, they've always been like that when they help me. And they can come with like half of it cheaper. I promise you I won't move, because I know what I've got. They've proven themselves over the years. And that for me is what this comes down to. So I'm the right client for them. They're giving me great service. And therefore, it's going to take a lot to lure me away from them, which I don't think I will allow. All right, so you can do or create your ideal client through research, because you want to make sure, that somebody's going to fit this profile. So you've got to go screen select. And the nice thing about this is that you can actually go to your existing clients and start there. I would actually recommend that you start with your existing clients, because when you do your marketing, as I said before, you want to be speaking to them. So this will be great if you take your existing client base and you go and look at who you've got there, and you pick one group of people, and you start marketing just to them over a 6-month period and see what happens. Direct everything you do at those people, all right? And then see what happens. You also got to understand the skills and knowledge you need and the resources and what you're going to focus on. So that's important when you are focusing on that. And then you got to make sure that it's a mutually beneficial relationship. You giving and giving and giving and giving is not good. It's got to be mutually beneficial. Otherwise, it is not the right fit. That's why we're in business. We're not here to hand out charity. People who are standing like, please help me. I'm not talking about helping people who really can't help themselves, but definitely people who are just looking for a handout or just always, oh, can you help me with this? Can you do that? Can you? And I know then people go like exactly what Kobus said, is like, but I need to treat them well because maybe somewhere they come into money and that's how this business has worked for years. I mean, ever since it started, that's exactly how it works. But, I think there needs to be a line and say, well, tot hier toe en nie verder. Eh? And then, as I said, start with your existing clients with this, because they already know you, you already know them, and then you can start testing these concepts. And then if you want more of those clients, you can now take the marketing and the things that you've done for them, and you can take it to new prospects. Alrighty, so I want to tell you a little story. I don't know if you've ever heard this story. It's about an old man, a boy, and a donkey. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. And it's just, I don't know who drew these pictures. I did get them. I did Google them. I tried and look up who drew these pictures so that I can obviously give them recognition on here. But I couldn't find anything. So, I'm sorry for that. But basically what it is, the story is that you've got this old man, a young boy, and a donkey, and they're walking, and then they come across people, because you can, obviously this is back in the day, and there's people just hanging around on the side of the road, as it goes with stories. And what happened is that they tell him, like, guys, you are so stupid. You have a donkey. I mean, why are you walking? Why are you walking, Neri? Lekker. And then they go, the old man and the boy says, yeah, like, we are stupid. Okay. So what are we going to do? Well, the old man is older. The young boy can take it. He's younger. He's more fit. So they decided that the old man would ride the donkey first. And as they go along, there's more people alongside the road. And this time the people say, how can you do this? And they go like, what? And he says, but like, I mean, you're a grown man, you're an adult. Why do you let the boy walk? That's not right. And the old man thought, I never thought about it that way. So what did they do? They swapped. They decided that now the boy will ride the donkey. And again, they would go on and on, and they would again miraculously find some people next to the road. And this time the people said, you know what, this is really stupid. Why don't you just both ride the donkey? I mean, that's really what you should be doing. And they thought, wow, that is an amazing idea, because the donkey is strong. So let us both ride the donkey. And then, as you can see there on the picture, they find some people next to the road a little bit further down. And they're going like, that's unfair towards the donkey. That's not right. How can you both ride the poor animal? Call the SPCA, And they thought, yeah, that's not fair. So, at least the donkey also needs a break. And then what they decided to do is to carry the donkey so that the donkey didn't have to walk anymore. But then they came to a little bridge. And as they went over the bridge, the old man slipped and they dropped the donkey, and the donkey fell all the way down into the river, way down below. Now, what is the moral of this story? Well, very simply, if you try to please everyone, you can kiss your ass goodbye. And that is the whole premise for me behind, an ideal client and segmentation, is because the problem is that we try and be everything to everybody. And you're either going to need a very big team in order to do that. And the bigger the team, chances are you're not making the kind of profits that you think you're making. There are people who's got 1- and 2-man shows. So it's just an advisor and an assistant. And they will make more profit and more money than somebody who's got a whole team of people and there's multiple advisors in that business. So just because you've got a bigger business in terms of the number of people you've got doesn't mean you're more profitable. So this is for me a very powerful story and a very important story for people to just take note of. So if you want to create your ideal client policy, you need to understand what it is they do. So do you like to work with IT people? Do you like to work with accountants? Nobody likes accountants and engineers, right? And even doctors, sometimes people don't want to work with them. But what they do. So you've got to be very clear on that. So it's very practical. They are in these lines of business, or they're professionals, or, it's very, very easy. And then the other aspect that you need to look at is who they are. So, do you enjoy spending time with them? Are they easy to get along with? Do you feel energized once you leave a meeting, or are you completely drained? When your phone rings, are you going like, oh, fantastic, it's Francois phoning, and you answer the phone immediately, versus, oh, it's Francois phoning, and you just missed the call, and then you need to phone back, and it's just, it's just a draining experience. And also, do you want a client that when they say yes, they stick to their yes, and when they say no, they can at least tell you to your face no, that kind of thing. And then I think the one of the things that are very important is that you need to consider whether something is, if they really see your value, because they can tick all the boxes, but if they don't tick that box about, yes, I can't do what I do without you. Thank you so much for taking this off my plate. Thank you for giving me direction. You help me make better decisions. I need you in my team. Thank you very much. Unless that happens, somebody is still not maybe your ideal client. Even if they tick all the other boxes, they need to know your worth, and they need to see and understand your value. So what you can do is list an ideal clients, their qualities, their values. So look at your existing clients. Go pull a list, and then you can have little columns. So you can put them into an Excel spreadsheet, and you can put at the top all of the qualities and things that are important to you, the kind of people. And the easy way to sort of figure that out is to what do you like? What is important to you? How do you treat people? You can start with yourself and write down those qualities, because you would tend to love to work with people that sort of like you. And then a big thing, and this is the thing that most people don't take into account, and I think this is what Kobus and some of you are alluding to in the chats, is that you need to consider the potential of that client. Okay, so if you have a young professional, maybe he's just finished with his articles, he's earning maybe 10, 15, 20,000 rand a month, which is not bad, all right? But his potential to build a big practice and to be successful in future, there's a very high probability that he's going to do that. So you can decide now already, just because somebody has a specific job and earn a certain level of income and a certain level of investable assets, or assets under management and things like that, it does not mean that you can't take this person who doesn't have that and also slot them in there, because you want to treat them like an A client from day one. So potential, for me, that's why I say it's the forgotten relic, and I don't know if that's the right word, but it is something that nobody really considers. We are so into the facts and the data. We need to look beyond that and understand what is the potential. And potential can be one of a few things. It can be that they already have money, they're just not spending it with you, so there's potential there. There is somebody who's just started off, so they don't have potential right now, or they don't have the money right now, but they have the potential to make a lot of money later down the line. And then there's also people who are very connected. So I think whoever spoke about the center of influence. So you've got people that are very connected, and that can be, so you want to treat them like an A client, even though they may not be profitable. So if you look at profitable, how much money you make from them and how much they spend with you, as part of your sort of segmentation, then potential definitely overrides that metric for sure. So that is something that I think you really need to consider. And I was looking for a document. I wrote an article on this back in 2006. I just couldn't find it. It's somewhere on a hard drive. So I'll still try and find it and maybe share that with you in the future. But, potential, you need to look at potential, and you've got to be objective about that. And then, as I said, take that spreadsheet and put down the clients' names and fill in each of these columns and see which people are really meeting, all of the qualities and the values and characteristics that you like to work with. And if you want, write down 5 reasons why you love working with them. And then what you need to do is you need to and see, here we're doing segmentation, because what you're doing, you're splitting your clients into your ideal clients. You're splitting them into the fluff, or the ones that you really shouldn't be working with, that just from looking at that sheet that you've put together, those are not people that I should be working with. And then the rest, because there will always be somebody in the middle. And then you've already segmented. And now you can just say, well, I need to do whatever for these people that I love working with. And then what am I going to do with these people here at the bottom that I shouldn't be working with at all? You better get a list of people you can refer them to, because you should get rid of them. The energy that they take is just not worth it. If you look at a segmentation sort of formula, I've got a friend who's really built a fantastic tool. It even works. I know they get some data from ComSpace. If you're a ComSpace client, you can give some of your data to them, and they will analyze your entire client base. And there's a whole host of things that you can set in this tool. And it's really a fantastic thing that is built. It really works well. But what you can have here is, for instance, so you could have the list of client names here, and some of the columns that you may have. This is now after you've done your whole, like, who's your ideal client, who's the fluff, and who's in between. You can say, is it an ideal client? Yes or no. What is your turnover currently? And this is sort of the part where most advisors fall short, because they don't know what it is. You get all these commission statements and you put them into a spreadsheet, or you've got your bank statements maybe that you pull into a spreadsheet, but none of these things are really talking to one another. You don't have a view of what are you making per client. All right. And then you can say, well, do I make a profit or not? Okay. So turnover and profit, not the same thing. Your potential, does this client have potential? And however you've defined that, as I said, there's those 3 things that you can consider. What is their assets under management with you? Okay. Because that is important to know and understand. And then you can sort of say, well, based on these things, how do I rate it? Okay, and based on these rating, and then you can go and now you can prioritize within each of these sort of segments that you've already created to understand, where most of your time should maybe go, etc. But this is just one way of doing it. As I said, if you're interested in learning more about that segmentation thing, I can maybe put you in touch. But it's really a great thing to do. Alrighty, cool. So let me see. I know there's a lot that happened here on the chat. Henny Bauer. Hello, Henny. Nice to see that you were here. Sorry, I have to leave a bit early. Dirk Groeneveld, in our segmentation, the heaviest weighting is based on our relationship with clients and how much they buy into our process. Yes, so they see your value. It makes sense to start there. Then Neil, I just said to Neil, okay, then we will not deal with someone who will not go through our process regardless of how much money they have. Exactly, because they don't see the value and they don't believe in what you're doing, Dirk. So that is, for me, the right approach. Then Shlanganani said to that point, I was thinking, what if your most valuable client doesn't want to be given a service? Well, that is then their choice. If that's not what they want, it's not to say because they have the most money or they're your most important client. If they don't want that, they don't want that. You need to understand what it is that they want, and you need to decide, am I willing to then be adaptable and flexible in that situation or not? That's up to you. It's your business. So you can decide. Your coffee must have been very good today. Great session. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Neil. The story comes from KwaZulu-Natal government, Bantustan, grade 1 or 2 book called Masihambisane or something like that. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. It's actually an old fable. If you go look, there's an old book about fables, and it was in that book as well. Future potential is very important point, as this is your future income. Yes, absolutely. All right. So lastly, I know we've gone a bit over time, but this is such an important aspect and things that one can consider and think about. It's just, where do you start? Okay, and what I want to do is I just quickly want to show you there are 2 tools that I use for value propositions and for business models and getting everything to talk to one another. And that's the business model canvas. It's by Strategizer. So it's available for free. There are books that you can buy and courses you can do about how to use this. But the business model canvas, so this is about creating a business model. And within the business model here, you will note that there are value propositions over here. So you've got value propositions, you've got your customer segments. So you see your segmentation so that you understand that the value propositions speak to each of those customer segments. There's also relationships, and then how do you deliver this value? So this whole part here is how you actually run your business. And here at the bottom is how do you earn your money? What is the different fee models, or income streams and things that you can create from there. On the left-hand side is more of the things that you need to deliver the value. So this is more who you're delivering it to and what is important to get it delivered. On this side, it's more about like what you need in order to deliver the value that you're setting out to deliver. So what are your key activities? What are the key resources? And then obviously key partners, outsourced, etc. And then also the cost structure about, how does the costing work? Because this part is going to cost you money to be able to deliver on this side so that you can earn money. And the whole aim is that your revenue should exceed your costs, for those of you that maybe wondered about that. And then you use this as part of this. You'll see that if you look at the value propositions part here, you go to the value proposition canvas. It even shows you here which parts it's talking about. So on this side, it's taking the value proposition, and on this part, it's taking a customer segment. So for each customer segment, you're going to put together a value proposition. And here you need to understand what the customer is trying to achieve, what are their pains in the process, and what gains will you deliver by doing the things here. So you've got some pain relievers. So what are you doing to take away these pains? Okay. And obviously you've got your products and services, and then you've got your gain creators that will obviously result in them having the gains and then ultimately achieving the jobs that they're setting out to achieve. And this has got nothing to do with their work or anything. So this is a very, very powerful. If you print this out on a big sheet, like a A0 or A1 or something, and you stick it against the wall and you use sticky notes to be able to write things down and stick them on there and be able to move them around and stand back and look at this, it really opens a lot of stuff. We used this extensively last year to help us come up with certain things and to have clarity about things that we want to do. So this is a very powerful tool. You can go check it out at strategizer.com. It is available for free. And I know, as I said, one of the corporates actually, they branded this for themselves, and they actually, I know they made it available within the business to advisors and consultants and all sorts of people. But yeah, that was just something I wanted to end off with. So let me see. I don't see any more comments on YouTube. Let's see. Tian says, great session. 100% agree with those comments. If they do not buy into your value proposition and your financial planning philosophy up front, it means they will not meet your client criteria. That is absolutely spot on. I fully agree with that. And so that is sort of the story. Tomorrow, I have a guest here where we're going to be talking about working from home and things that you need to consider around that. As I said before, she's been working from home for a very long time, and remotely for that matter. She's managed teams remotely, and she has been managed remotely. So she really has many, many years, and even working in other countries on that basis. So she's got a lot of experience. So join me tomorrow, 8 a.m., same place, same time. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a fantastic day and a great week. Make it one. I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.